Last weekend, I went on an 85-kilometer bike ride around a lake with my dad. It was the longest bike trip that I have ever taken. And while riding, I felt something that I haven't in a really long time. A sense of community. And even though we were hit with a thunderstorm, rain, and hail, it was still one of the best experiences of my year so far. Now, I don't want to be one of the many people who keep saying how bad the internet is and how it's making us lonelier and more isolated. But the internet is bad and is making us more isolated and lonelier. It's no secret that we are currently going through a loneliness epidemic, and it's not just because of the pandemic. The term was coined in 2017 by Vivek Murthy, the 19th US Surgeon General, but the pandemic definitely made it worse. I had my own reasons for a loneliness problem. I moved to a country where I had no friends, no job where I could meet people, and no hobbies that got me out of the house. All of that has changed in the last 2 years, but even so, going on this bike trip gave me this sense of community that I don't think I've ever experienced before. I've been using this old bike as my commuting bike for many, many years now. My dad actually bought it a few years after I was born. That means it's almost 34 years old, and it still works. Well, one of the brakes doesn't work, but it's still rideable. My dad has always been a really avid biker. Just recently, he rode from the south of Germany all the way to the north of Germany with his half-sister. I told him I was planning on doing this ride, and he booked a flight, packed a bike of his own, and joined me. On top of that, he offered to leave his bike here so that I could have a proper bike since I'm starting to train for triathlons. So I thought it would be a nice send-off for my bike to go on one last tour. Oh, and my dad also brought me my first jersey. A very American jersey.
Hi, Dad, do you think people will understand that I'm American?
Don't mess with Texas.
I'm not sure how much the Finns here appreciated my Murica jersey. I did get a few weird looks, but oh well. Understandably, once the ride actually got going, my dad had a much easier time than I did. Not only is he more experienced, but his bike is a lot lighter. And I mean a lot lighter. His is made of carbon fiber, and mine, well, I don't really know, but it sure feels like steel forged in the flames of a dying star in comparison. So yeah, sometimes my dad would just speed off and leave me to ride on my own and then wait for me at the next rest stop. But that is when I realized how good it felt to just be surrounded by other bikers, all of us together taking part in this crazy challenge. Of course, I loved that my dad came up here and did this together with me. But even if I had done it alone, I would have still felt that same happiness just being surrounded by other people going through the same thing as me. Joining a swim team, which I did at the beginning of this year, was great. It lets me socialize, get out the house, and be around people who have the same hobby as me. But for some reason, this event felt different. There were 700 people there, strangers and a couple of people I knew, but we all came together to take part in a challenge. Maybe if this wasn't Finland, there would be more chatting between strangers, or maybe no one talked to me because of my obnoxious jersey. But either way, it felt amazing to be a part of it, especially when the thunderstorm hit. The rain started to pour and the hail started pelting down on us. So many of us just kept going. For the last 20 kilometers or so, it poured almost the entire time. But my dad and I pushed through and we got to the finish line. Sadly, any festivities that were planned after the finish line were canceled because of the weather, but still, getting there and getting that sticker and seeing all the other riders come in, wet and cold, just kept pushing the sense of community. Finding a community is so important. Just the feeling of being part of something physically, without necessarily having to even speak or be the center of attention, can really help you get out of a loneliness spiral. Running clubs have become immensely popular, but it doesn't have to be sports. Even around here, there are clubs for board game enthusiasts and those Warhammer type games. And I'm sure in the US, where most of my audience lives, there's a lot of activities and communities that you can become a part of. During my ride, I didn't really interact with anyone that I didn't already know, but it didn't matter. I still felt that sense of community. I felt happy to be part of something that pushed me to do something I didn't think I had in me. That is what we need more of, not spending time in a place where negativity and outrage is promoted, making us more divided and lonely, but rather a place where you can gather around something positive, a favorite sport, books, food, games, or anything else that you want to do. Just do it with others. I really hope you find your community. Peace.